I know that when we took office, squash was at its lowest, more or less, because there wasn't much happening. But I know that now the squash is beginning to move. For one, I'm sure you're aware the sports festival is coming up in the next couple of weeks in Edo State, and squash is now a compulsory sport at the sports festival. Apart from that, we have a lot going on. Last year, we had about 7 PSA tournaments, which are international tournaments. Although the prize money didn't enable some of the players to come in from outside the country. But we had 7 of them, which is unprecedented. And we have tournaments coming up across the country right now, so which is very interesting. Also, coaches are beginning to get tested because their wards are having to play tournaments, and they can see the level of coaching from the performance at the tournaments. Personally, one of the things I think working against the squash being in the Olympics is participation across Africa. If you look at it today, the Squash Federation of Africa itself needs to do a lot more in support of what the World Squash Federation is doing. We don't have an African tournament, and if you look at the number of countries that's playing squash today in Africa, there are 54 countries in Africa. Right now, maybe 3 playing, and if you're looking at for a sport that's going into the Olympics, you need active participation across the continent. So that's what I feel could also help, amongst other things. I know the World Squash Federation is doing a lot. They're working closely with the PSA to do everything to get squash into the Olympics. It would really be nice to see a beautiful game in the Olympics at some point. What do I like most about squash? Everything. You know, once you enter into that court, it's you and your opponent. You're doing everything to outsmart your opponent. The athleticism, the strength, the wit. You know, you must have your wits about you to be able to outwit your opponent. You must be fit. You must, you know, just the whole thing in the game itself, whether as a participant or as a viewer, you know, even standing and watching good squash players play the game, that in itself is fun. Now to be a part of it, it's awesome. You wouldn't know the feeling until you get into the squash court to play, and you would see that from the people who play. You have people across all ages, from children to adults. I mean, our grand patron, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, still plays, and at over 80, and that's not the only person. We have people in their 70s who play squash actively today. It's just a beautiful game all through. The professional players that are playing today in Nigeria, our top players are few, and I think right now we have only one playing outside the country. Tunde Ajagbe, who's currently I think 167. I haven't looked at the rankings for this month. And basically what we do is to encourage him in every way we can. For instance, when at the World Team Championships in December, we gave them kits. When he came into Mississauga in Canada to play, I was there. We went there and supported him. Can we do more? Yes. With time, as we are able to raise more funds, we can then support his training and all. The states, one major role they can play is to get the squash facilities up and running again. A lot of the squash facilities across the country are run down. The courts are hardly playable. Most of them are either used as storage, the floors are gone, the walls are gone. So if the states can get the squash facilities, the squash courts renovated, that would be really good for us. Another thing to do is to make sure the coaches are well taken care of, because when we have a good coach, then we'll have good players, and then we can then develop squash through the zones. If all the states have their squash courts up and running, then we can develop squash through the zones, and then we have a good structure, we have a good pool of players to pick from. That's the only way the game can grow. The main role the ministry will do is coordination. They coordinate and then support at that level. Also, the ministry can get the squash facilities at the federal level up and running as well. You know, the two main stadia we have, the one in Abuja and the one in Surulere, the same thing. Almost all the courts are hardly playable at the level at which we need them. And if those courts are not there, we're forced to go to clubs, we're forced to use a few state facilities that are okay. So if the ministry and the states can give us good infrastructure to work with, and then whatever support they give at that level, we'll be happy with. We can then source for additional funds to cater for everything. There's a lot of focus on the big sports, and then sports regarded as lesser sports get less attention. However, I know that eventually they'll get around to that, but I hope that they will do that soon enough, so that all sports can be treated equally to some extent, so that there's growth across board, rather than focusing on the football, the tennis, that get funded anyway. A lot of other sports are not really seeing the impact yet. Hopefully the initiatives will begin to give results, and then the impacts will be felt. I hope to do so.